Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience.
Hello, welcome back to Big LEZ'S League. Make sure if you haven't already to go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube. We are growing and growing on there every single day. So make sure you become a part of the Big LEZ'S League community. We're going to be talking a lot about Parramatta today. Obviously, there's been two big reports coming out of Parramatta. Obviously, after Origin 3, everyone knows the news. Moses is out for the season. What is the direction that the Parramatta Eels are going to go for here? We're going to discuss that today on the podcast. We're also going to be talking about Ryan Matterson. Apparently, he is on the move. We're going to be talking about some potential landing spots for Ryan Matterson, what clubs need back rowers right now. We're going to discuss that here on the podcast. But let's go through Mitch Moses first, because there's plenty of directions this conversation can go. So let's get straight into it. Obviously, Moses out for the year with a bicep tear. It is huge for Parramatta. Obviously, they were no chance of making finals as of last week or the week before. I think they got officially ruled out of finals contention. So they are just battling to end the year on a positive note. Hopefully they win a few games in a row going into the back end of the season. That is the most positive outcome for this side going into the rest of the year. They want to finish very well. They want to win a lot of the next few games that they have. If we go to Parramatta's draw, which I'll get up right now, I don't think it is the hardest draw, but I don't necessarily think it's the easiest draw as well. Going into the last few games of the competition, they go up against the Warriors, the Panthers, the Roosters, the Broncos, the St. George, Illawarra Dragons, and they finish off with the Tigers. I think that they can win against the Warriors, potentially. Look, obviously, they still have Sean Johnson out. They've pretty much got everyone else. I think that Chance might be out for the next few weeks. Obviously, he was out, then in, then out again, obviously with an injury there. Tane Tuiapiki also got ruled out, so it'll be interesting to see what lineup they have for us going into this week. You'd imagine Roger goes to fullback. But yeah, obviously they go up against the Warriors. I think that's actually a winnable game here. If they win the battle through the middle, which is probably going to be the toughest battle of this game, I think there's a chance. Then they go up against the Panthers. That's going to be a full-strength Panthers side. I think they get demolished there. Roosters, I think it's a pretty similar go. Roosters at Roosters home is going to be a tough go. With the Panthers, though, the week before, you know, the Parramatta Eels, they are the voodoo team for the Panthers, so maybe there is a little bit of a storyline there, but I think that the Panthers do come in and demolish them. I mean, an Eels without Moses, it is going to be very hard to go and beat the Panthers. Yeah, Roosters at home, I think, is going to be hectic. I think that Broncos at Suncorp is also going to be quite hectic for them. Adam Reynolds back in the side. We saw the direction and just how well they were playing with Adam Reynolds back. You know, Reece Walsh was doing some really good things as well. I think that the Broncos will probably look to beat the Eels. I think that the Broncos are going to go into this one not thinking that it's an easy game, but compared to some of the other games in their draw, I think that the Broncos will get it done. St. George and West Tigers, I think that they can beat both of those sides to finish off the year, the Eels. So I think they can win at least 3 out of the next 5 or so games they've got left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think they win 3 out of this next 6 games. And that is the Tigers, St. George, and then obviously the Warriors potentially. But, you know, Panthers, Roosters, Broncos, I can't see it happening without Moses, to be honest. It does beg the question, though, with the Parramatta Eels, who goes into that number 7 jersey to finish off the season? Is it Dylan Brown and they bring someone else in? I've got a bit of a little more controversial play for you, and I want you to I want you to leave in the comments what you think about this one. I think Dylan Brown's going to end up in the 7. Unless they bring in Ethan Sanders or Dejan Arce goes back to 7. I think that Dylan Brown is going to end up there. In regards to that number 6 jersey, if the plan moving forward is to have Blaze Talangi at fullback and you want to re-sign Blaze Talangi, obviously, because he is talking to the Dolphins at the moment, and apparently he's the Dolphins are the front runner to land him. You know, he's talking to a number of other clubs at the moment. If the plan moving forward is to keep Blaze Talangi at fullback, I think that the Eels should most likely move Gutho into the halves, move him into closer to the action in the front line. You know, he's an absolutely fantastic defender, so I don't really doubt too much his defense. In that 5'8" sort of role, yes, it's very different. He hasn't defended in the front line in a while. Not back to, I guess, Origin a few years back when he had to fill in there in the back line. But other than that, he hasn't played in the back line in a while. Yeah, look, I think it is going to be a bit of an interesting one, but I think that as I said, if the plan is to retain Blaze Talangi and you want him to play fullback for the next few years, I'd just get started on preparing for next year, and I would have Blaze Talangi at fullback, and then I'd have Gutho there in that number 6 jersey. And look, it does hurt the other guys. Dejan Arce does hurt guys like Ethan Sanders, but Dejan Arce, I think his best game of football this year has been in the centres. And Ethan Sanders, I just don't think he's ready yet. So, plus Ethan Sanders, I believe, is going to Canberra next year. So, in terms of preparing for the future, I think that Gutho's got to go into the 6. And look, Gutho's probably not going to go into the 6 for the next few years. The future halves pairing is going to be Moses and Brown, at least for the next 5 to 10 years, maybe a little bit less than 10, 5 to 6 years. The plan is going to be Moses and obviously Dylan Brown. So there's no chance that Gutho is going to end up in the halves next year. But Gutho is the guy that you can move around because going into next year or maybe even the year after, he's probably going to end up in the centres anyway. So let me know what you think about that. Let me know in the comments. But I think that Gutho should probably go into the 6 with Dylan Brown at 7 to finish the year and have Blaze Talangi at fullback. Get the guys used to those combinations with him at fullback as well. I just want to see how he goes there. Even if he doesn't start the best, I just want him to finish the year there. And I just want to have a taste for at least these next 6 games of what Blaze Talangi is like at fullback and get him out of the wing areas because he's not going to be a winger or a centre in the next few years. He is going to be the future fullback. And that is obviously been very, very heavily voiced by the Parramatta people in terms of the plan moving forward. So if the plan is to keep Blaze Talangi, Gutho into the 6, Dylan Brown into the 7. The other options, as we already said, Dejan Arce can go into the half somewhere. Ethan Sanders can come in as well. Brendan Hands can obviously go in there as well and fill in that regard. So, and we obviously saw that last week when he had to go into the halves as well. Dejan Arce, just remembered the reason that Brendan Hands went into the centres was because Dejan Arce had to come off, with an injury. So, yeah, maybe there's an issue there, but yeah, Ethan Sanders is there. Brendan Hands played in the halves when he was at Penrith. So, yeah, look, I mean, they've got plenty of options there, but for me, when you're looking, keeping an eye on the future, I'd probably go with Gutho in the number 6. But look, it is going to be a tough next few weeks. They actually go up against Melbourne next week because there is 7 games left. So that's going to be a tough one. Melbourne into the Warriors, into Penrith, Roosters, Broncos. These next 4 games are brutal. The next 4 to 5 games are brutal. I think that the last 2 they can win, but as I said, yeah, these last 2 these next 5 or 4 games are brutal for Parramatta. We'll have to wait and see how they go. It could be a very rough end to what has been a very rough year for Parramatta. We could even see them ending up getting the spoon. What is the Tigers draw? That'd be a good one to look at, actually, going into the rest of the year. The Tigers. They go in the next 7 games, the Warriors, the Cowboys, the Knights, the Rabbitohs, Sea Eagles, and then Parramatta, obviously, the last one. They have the bye in round 26. So that's not too bad either, to be honest. I mean, that's definitely not as bad as what Parramatta have got. In terms of the Warriors, I think the Warriors win. I think the Cowboys beat them. I think they can maybe get a job done over the Knights if the Knights are a little bit under strength. Rabbitohs, that's going to be an interesting one because we saw how close that game ended up being. Sea Eagles, we don't know with the Sea Eagles. And then Parramatta, I don't know. So, yeah, look, I mean, at face value, this draw probably isn't as difficult, but it is still quite a difficult draw. It really depends on who wins more games, and that sounds stupid and obvious, but yeah, be interesting to see who gets the wooden spoon there, but yeah, look, not looking good for Parramatta for the rest of the year without Moses. It is a huge loss for them in terms of direction as well. It is just going to lead to a little bit of indiscipline, which we saw when Moses was out already for the first half of the season. Yeah, scary times for Parramatta. The other update, though, for Parramatta, without dragging too on about Moses and the loss there, and we obviously spoke about Gutho for quite a while, but in terms of the other news for Parramatta, Ryan Matterson obviously been told reportedly, according to Mixed Rugby League, and he's usually pretty spot on. It looks like Ryan Matterson has been told he should explore other options if available to him as the Eels look to move him on in 2025. And look, there's been a lot of rumours around, the Ryan Matterson, the discontent at Parramatta trying to move Ryan Matterson on, and they kept getting denied, and then it kept coming up again. It kept getting denied, kept going back and forth. The news here around Ryan Matterson. This is the sort of first time where it's sort of set in stone. The Parramatta Eels have told him, look, if there's another deal that comes up, go and take it. We probably won't go with you in 2025 if you can find another deal. So, yeah, that's big news. Obviously, Ryan Matterson, you look at his versatility, and he's another guy that can maybe shift into the halves as well with a bit of ball playing and size. Can go into that number 6 role like he has in the past. But, Ryan Matterson, he provides a lot of value in terms of his versatility. He can play 6, can play in the back row, can play lock, can play in the front row. Yeah, his versatility around the forwards. He can play in the halves if you need to, if there's an injury in a game. I still think he's playing some good footy off the bench too. You look at majority of games that he's played this season for the Parramatta Eels, he actually has been quite good. So the fact that the Parramatta are constantly trying to get rid of him, and that's the story that we're getting here. We get it quite frequently. We've had it over the past 3 years. I think it has been now since we've been getting these sort of storylines regarding Matterson and the Eels. So, yeah, as I said, it's the first time it's really been sort of set in stone that this is the plan. The plan is not Ryan Matterson, moving forward. In terms of clubs that can land him, I think there is plenty. I think the Roosters should definitely make a play for Ryan Matterson. Obviously, has been at the Roosters before, started off at the Roosters. But I think just off the bench, he can provide a lot of value just in this forward pack. And I think that it sort of balances out the forward pack for the Roosters as well. They've got a ton of back rowers. They've got a ton of front rowers as well. But Ryan Matterson having a bit of experience coming in. You're losing a lot of experience in this pack when obviously you're getting Jared walking out the door next year. I just think bringing a little bit of experience back into the pack, having him coming off the bench and playing a bit of a roaming lock sort of role, I think could really work well for the Roosters. Even starting at 13 and having Watson in that 14 sort of role, I think could work very, very well. So definitely think it's something that the Roosters should consider. Ryan Matterson, I think that he'd fit in very well there. In terms of other landing spots, depending on what the Sharks are planning to do with Teague Wilton, I think that Ryan Matterson could line up on an edge there very well on that left-hand side. I think that him and Hines would have a beautiful combination. I think just organising-wise, having a guy like Matto on that left edge with Hines when he does roam down that way, it would help him a lot. Just in terms of a little bit of organising on that side. And it already is a very destructive left edge. So to add a Ryan Matterson there would be scary as well, just what he can do with the football. And defenses, they tend to target him just because of what he can do with the football in hand. I think he's been very underrated with his skill this year. You've seen Bryce Cartwright with the offloads and the fancy plays and stuff like that. I think what Ryan Matterson can do in this side has been very underrated this season. I think, obviously, they've got their back rowers pretty much set in stone with Isaiah Papali'i in the fold as well, Scott Sorensen, Liam Martin. But the Panthers, maybe off the bench, I wouldn't mind seeing a Ryan Matterson coming off the bench there. They're obviously losing James Fisher-Harris, so just having a guy that can come on and provide impact with a bit of ball playing through the middle would be great. When Yowie comes off, you bring Matterson on. Wouldn't mind it. Melbourne would obviously be great. They're looking for more front rowers than back rowers, but Ryan Matterson can play in the middle and play that ball-playing lock-forward sort of role there in the 13. I think they are looking for a genuine 13. I think Ryan Matterson could fill that role for Melbourne very well. In terms of other landing spots here, the Dogs, in terms of forwards, could go ahead and snatch him. I think that the Dolphins could go and make a play at him as well to land on an edge there. Ewan Aiken, it sounds like he's going to the Rabbitohs next year. Not confirmed yet, obviously, but it sounds like Ewan Aiken's going to South. In terms of Manly as well, maybe Manly could go ahead and look for him, but they've, as I said, it's pretty much Ben Trbojevic, Hamole locked in when they're full strength. I think that who else could go ahead and grab him? Kula Kefu Finefuyaki is going to the Dolphins next year, so that maybe the Cowboys pick him up as a replacement, but they've got Heilum Lukey there. They've also got Jeremiah Nanai. I wouldn't really disrupt that. I think they've got their starting back rowers sorted. In terms of the Dragons, they've still got a bit to figure out with how they're putting their side together. Canberra, literally just going down the ladder here. Canberra, Hudson Young's already in that left edge back row. Ryan Matterson could slot into the right as an Elliott Whitehead replacement. Don't mind that really at all. But they've got Adam Mariota that's just sitting and waiting for his opportunity too. And I think that he could have a real future in the back row. The Broncos, they've got Jordan Ricky in terms of that left edge back row. They've got Brennan Piakora there. So, again, they've got their starting back rowers sorted. South Sydney, it sounds like they're getting Ewan Aiken, depending on what role Ewan Aiken will be playing in this side. I imagine it will be that back row sort of role. So, they've got him. They've got Keon Koloamatangi. They've got Cam Murray. They've got Tallis Duncan there as well. They're sorted. Knights, who have they got at the moment in their back row? It seems like they have pretty much got it locked down. Tyson Frizzell's there on the right side. On the left edge back row, it does seem like it's changing every week. Oh, there's someone I'm forgetting about here, that's for sure. I know I'm forgetting about someone. Let me just go ahead and look at the Newcastle Knights. In terms of their back rowers, I'm forgetting about someone's, and I cannot believe I am. I know I'm forgetting about someone for sure. Kai Paul, they've got there. Dylan Lucas, they've got there. Yeah, they've got plenty of guys that can fill in that role. Brody Jones has some real backup. They've got Matt Croker who can fill in there if you need him to. They've got plenty of back row backups as well. In terms of other guys, let's have a look at this ladder. Warriors, Kurt Catewell's there, and they've obviously got, I'm having an absolute shocker at the moment. Absolute Barry Crocker. Who have the Warriors got? They've got Kurt Capewell, but then again, Kurt Capewell might be coming off the bench too next year. Kurt Capewell's actually not that old, but he plays like he's older. They've got that young bloke that's been absolutely killing it or has killed it. Leka Halasima, who has been killing it off the bench for them. They've got Jacob Laban, Jackson Ford. Mitch Barnett's been filling it in the back row as well of late. Dylan Walker had a game in the back row there as well. They have got Murata Niokore, who obviously is there now at the moment. Yeah, they've got plenty of guys too. The Wars. And then as well, who else have we left out here? Gold Coast, they've got Bo Firma, Dave Fafita. That's sorted. I think Parramatta should try and keep him, but it doesn't sound like that's the plan. West Tigers would be a bloody good fit. They're losing Isaiah Papali'i. They need someone to slot into that role. John Bateman might be playing in the middle as a roaming lock. We've seen that a few times this year. They're sort of still trying to figure out the plan for John Bateman. So, yeah, I think that they do need a back row of the West Tigers, to be honest. I think that the West Tigers could be a great landing spot. Great landing spot for Ryan Matterson. Obviously played there before. I don't know what it was like when he left, but yeah, I think that could be a great little landing spot for him. So yeah, Tigers for me is definitely one. So Storm, Panthers, Sharks, Roosters, Dogs. Who else did we say? We said West Tigers. That's pretty much it. Are some great landing spots there for Ryan Matterson. Let me know what you think. What is the best landing spot for Ryan Matterson going into 2025 if he doesn't stay at the Parramatta Eels? I want to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comments. Become a part of the Big LEZ'S League community as well. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already. Any questions, queries about rugby league, leave them below. Any content ideas, leave them below. We'll see you guys in the next one.